Welcome into another edition of Game Changers. It feels like we've been on the road for the longest time. Steve Goldstein.
Did something change in here?
Yeah.
I see an Inter Miami.
Yeah, we added Inter Miami.
How about that,
they got Messi, they got a logo here. Yeah. I'm sure someone else will complain about something at some other point. Forget whatever teams aren't on here. All right, guys, let's. It's the preseason's winding down here. We got one more game for the Miami Dolphins. But this week we're talking about everything but what's happening on the field and, of course, what's happening on social media and on TV. This week, Ryan Clark, ESPN analyst, kind of took a shot at Tua, calling him fat, if you will, thick. Said it was a joke, later apologized. We heard Tua's comments come back at him strong, saying, if you want to get scrappy, we can get scrappy. Guys, but let me ask you this first. Are you surprised? Because it always seemed to me that there was like this fraternal bond between NFL players. We kind of didn't take shots at one another.
Yeah,
obviously,
but that was before social media.
True.
That was before that opportunity to open up your mouth and sometimes say something very good and other times put your foot in your mouth when those opportunities arise. So it was a little different back then. But I don't have a problem with it. But I tell you, Tua's a Samoan. He's a Polynesian. I think Samoan. I played with a lot of Samoan guys on the West Coast. And if I was to say what their typical body is, they're usually big and thick in the bottom. Mm-hmm. You know, their lower bodies are thick and their upper bodies, which is exactly what Tua is. Now, that being said, Tua's got an argument. But I remember watching Ryan Clark play. He was a pretty heavy hitter out there in that field. I'm not sure that if I'm Tua, I want to be poking that bear very much. At least as long as you can do it as long as he's outside of the Miami, out of the 305 area code. Right. But once he gets in here, you might want to low key it a little bit.
But you got to be happy for Tua.
Better bring Channing in there and Channing will.
But you guys got to be at least happy with the way Tua handled it, because it seems like for whatever reason Tua has been a polarizing player in this league, and like I don't think he's really deserved it the last 3 years, 4 years, whatever it's been. But Goldie, the way he kind of stood up for himself. Definitely out of the norm from what we've seen from Tua.
Well, I think it's the new Tua. Mike McDaniel says he's coming into his own as a man. I think a lot of it is the confidence that the franchise and the head coach has in him. Everybody loves the guy now. And for a few years there, they were trying to replace him. I call it what it is, Deshaun Watson, and the team didn't put down those rumors. I think Ryan Clark, no disrespect to him, I actually worked with him once or twice. I think he's totally full of garbage. I think the apology was absurd. It's not taken the same way by everybody. You ripped the guy, and now you're getting backlash, so you've pulled it all back. There's no it wasn't taken properly. Right. You said what you said. You hammered the guy. Mm-hmm. You were uninformed. Tua, and Bo knows this because we talk jiu-jitsu, heavy weights, whether it works or not, this guy worked his tail off during the offseason, so you ripped him. If you're going to rip him as a TV analyst, stand behind it. That apology was the biggest bunch of garbage, but you know what? It's just another little thing for fuel to the fire. And then Mike McDaniel, how much better could this be for Tua in this franchise? It's a layup for Mike McDaniel to come out on Thursday and defend him. Yeah. It's almost like Ryan Clark did the entire franchise a favor by saying it.
You know, but Tua, but I think this is also part of the maturation and the growth of Tua. Maybe last year he would have kind of kept it to himself because I don't think he was that guy last year. But I think he's so full of confidence right now. I think he's so full. I think this team, from the time training camp started to here now, has become so close and so tight, whether you're a defender or an offensive guy. And so I think it's emboldened Tua to say, hey, you know what? No, I'm not taking this anymore. Yeah. I've heard it my whole career now. I've been terrible. I've been this. I've been that. Now you're talking about my body. I think he's just saying, hey, you know what? No more. Yeah. I'm my own man. And if you want to come to me, you want to come at me, I'll come right back at you.
I will say this. What I liked about the Tua response on Wednesday was I think in the beginning he was about to do that. He was about to brush it off, and then it just seemed like it clicked. He goes, you know what? Screw it. We're here. Let's do this right now.
And can these fighters on these battles like this stop using this "keep my name out of your mouth"? That's a little tired right now. The Will Smith, a little tired right now, isn't it?
All right, let's move on. Running backs once again in the headline, especially for the Miami Dolphins. Mike McDaniel said the other day they're pumped about the running backs in their room, but it still seems like the Dolphins are kicking the tires on some guys around the league, whether it's Josh Jacobs or Jonathan Taylor from the Colts, who now has a Tuesday deadline for a trade from Indianapolis. Surprised that the Dolphins, Bo, are still doing this with the whole running back situation, even though publicly they keep saying we like the guys we have?
Well, look, they're going to say this. General managers are going to say this. We got to look at everything that comes up. We can't overlook something like a Jonathan Taylor coming available. Now that doesn't mean they're going to go and take him, but they've got to look at it. And so I think that's where people get kind of mired in the mud, where they go, well, they're talking about him. Well, it's their job. If they don't look, if I was an owner of a team and I had a general manager and a guy like Jonathan Taylor came on the market, and I called him after he got picked up by an agent, I said, did you look into that guy? Nah, I didn't even bother. See ya, get someone else. So it's something they've got to do.
Yeah.
But look, I think right now, if they go to where the room is right now, I think they're very happy with it.
Yeah, I think they're set at the running back room. Cool.
Well, I like the guys they have. Let's say one thing. You talk about pumping things. Let's pump the brakes. It's preseason. I like Savon Ahmed a lot, but he's done this a lot in preseason. Now, maybe some of it's he doesn't get the opportunity during the season. That may be part of it. But running backs have looked good. A-Chain looks really good. But it's like every other position. I agree with you, Bo. If you can get better and you're not kicking the tires, you're not doing your job, the question is, and maybe it's because of Tyreek Hill, Bradley Chubb, Jalen Ramsey, every time a guy gets available. And I guess it's the same thing with the Heat to a certain extent. Everybody links the South Florida team to him every time.
That's a good thing, to your point. You want your front office to at least see, because if you can ever improve at a position, you at least want to try. I do want to say this about running backs, though. This whole thing in the NFL where running backs aren't valued anymore, and then when a guy like Jonathan Taylor comes on the market, we want the house. Tell me they're not valuable.
But look at the running backs for the starting running backs for the Super Bowl winners the last 5, 8, 9 years.
Sure.
Not exactly a guy making huge money and not a big name. You'd be shocked.
Well, it's more about the core predicated on the
You'd be shocked by some of the names that have been the starter for teams that have won the Super Bowl.
Yeah, the league's definitely changed. All right, more to come here on Game Changers. We're going to get into Lionel Messi because Inter Miami, they don't know how to lose anymore. I don't know what to say.
Man amongst boys.
Man amongst boys. We'll talk about that next. Back here on Game Changers, we seem to fit Lionel Messi into every single episode, and deservedly so, because Inter Miami has not lost since this guy showed up. This week, they beat FC Cincinnati in the U.S. Open Cup semifinal. Messi didn't score. What a bum. He did set up the 2 goals that tied it and send it to extra time in the PKs. Moving on, though, from that fact, they've already got a Leagues Cup championship. They've got 1 trophy this season. Considering all the winning that has happened in South Florida, guys, Goldie asked you this first. How does what Inter Miami is doing right now stack up to what the Heat, the Panthers, the Final Four teams we had? Is it the same in your mind, the success?
Well, I don't think it's the same because it's not a league championship, and you haven't gone through that grind. Like the Heat and Panthers went through a grind to get to the final and get to the Stanley Cup and the NBA final. I also think, again, and you said this, Mike, this is a lot of fun.
Yes.
But he is a man amongst boys. Right. That is becoming clearer and clearer. This team couldn't score. They were averaging a goal a game through like 20 games before he got here. And the pass he made, to set up that goal in Cincinnati in the 96th minute to tie it. I mean, that's just legendary stuff. The goal he scored the game before that when he's top of the box, and that doesn't happen if he's over against better competition. That's just my personal. I'm not trying to take anything away from him. I'm not trying to put cold water on it. But this is dominant stuff. So, no, I don't think it's the same. And these are also short-term tournaments. You got to go through that grind of a season. But, Mike, you've said this for a month now. It is fun to watch. Yeah. If he was on another team, you're like, why isn't he in South Florida? It's great to have him here in South Florida, but he is so much better than anybody else in this league.
I'm not the biggest. Look, I like soccer, but I'm not the biggest soccer. But I'm looking. You the one. What's the cup they just won? The League Cup.
The League. So
and now they're in the Lamar Odom Cup. Is that what they're in?
Lamar Hunt.
Oh, the Lamar Hunt.
No, there's the U.S. Open Cup. They're in the final, and then
this is it. The final now of the U.S. Open Cup. Cup.
Yeah.
September
How did they get to the semis without him, by the way?
To the semis?
Right. Well,
he wasn't even here.
That's what I'm asking. Wait a minute.
That's where they deserve some credit.
Yeah, how'd they get there?
It's the one successful thing they've done all season.
You go right up to the top of the semifinals.
I didn't realize they made it to the semis of that
they had fought
without him.
They had fought all their way to this point
That's
without
impressive.
him.
And
now they call it a
How come we never heard about the fight before Messi got here of getting to the Lamar Odom Cup? How come we never heard about the fight of getting there?
Because Lamar Odom
we heard bigger fights from Chloe and Lamar than we did.
By the way, they do have a little magic going because as great as he is, win a lot of these games in the kicks. I mean, the penalties have been, and they find a way to pull them out.
By the way, these tougher matches are happening against the MLS teams, not against the teams from Liga MX.
By the way, they should play it out in the final.
But
those
to
things,
me, from
like hockey, come on.
But me, I think one of the things that's good, they brought him, they bring in the guy Busquets, right?
Busquets.
They bring Busquets, Alba. They bring in. That's kind of the life. Alba defends. Give it to Busquets. He gets it to Messi, right? That's
Bosh, LeBron, and Wade.
But I think it's raising the level of all the rest of the players on that team up, not to a level where they can go and play it, in the Bundesliga or Premier League, but certainly higher than the level that they were playing before Messi and those guys came to Florida.
On that note, our EP, Leo Gomez, put this question to me, and I thought it was a great one. Who's the next best player on this? I want to take Busquets and let's take Alba out. Who's the next best player on this roster?
I would say the goalie.
Yeah, I would agree. Plus, he scored the goal to win when it went to the goalie kicks.
He did what Messi couldn't do.
That's right.
Messi got his goal. Come on.
He ended it. My contention was when we went to PKs the other night, they should have had Calendar start the PKs.
Too many PKs, man. Play it out. Like in the Stanley Cup in hockey, you play it out, bro.
I'll tell you,
it's a war of attrition.
That's what they did yesterday.
That game that he scored the winning goal to win the Cup, that whole game he was awesome.
Yes.
I mean, he made great plays,
He kept
play after play after play after play.
Especially those last 5 minutes.
And you could argue he was the MVP of that.
I'll tell you this about Messi, though, which is amazing. We've seen all the photos and the images, and if you watch the video when they win, there is zero ego on this guy. I mean, he walks into this team. He doesn't know these players. A lot of them, let's face it, they're not even close to his class. He treats everybody like they're his equal. I love that about him.
I think he's having fun.
Shops at Publix, too.
Dude, he should be having fun. He's dominating everything.
They're just winning. What is it, 10 goals, 6 games, whatever.
He should be having fun.
Yes.
He's got that Publix card getting the BOGOs as he goes down the aisle.
That's right,
talking to
he
fans.
doesn't need to do the BOGO.
The cereal BOGO. Okay, we're gonna keep it rolling here.
Lucky
we'll keep having
Charms,
fun
2 for 1,
changers.
baby.
We've got the Miami Marlins coming up. Are they going to keep having fun this season? I know Goldie's excited for that. We'll be right
not
back.
so sure.
Oh, the kind of driver.
Welcome back to Game Changers. We are sitting here solidly on high ground while the Marlins are trying to keep their head above water right now, guys. Just 2 games over 500 at the time that we're taping this show. Holding on to that wild card race, no longer in a spot at the moment. Have you guys given up hope yet on these Marlins?
Early on you're thinking, hey, they may win this division. They're playing that well, and all of a sudden they stepped in some quicksand. And they've been sinking steadily.
The more they struggle,
the more they struggle,
the worse it
just they're not hitting. They're pitching. Even you get good pitching, you can't defend. It's just look, I think we're seeing the Marlins moving in the right direction.
Sure.
As opposed to what we've seen over the last decade or so, maybe 2 decades. I think they're moving in the right direction. I think the ownership is really, I think they want to do the right thing and get there. They've made some moves but we can see right now you're still a long way. You're a long way down looking up at the best teams in the league.
Right. Well, no one's going to catch Atlanta in that division. All their hope, Goldie, is a wild card. Can they do it?
Well, first of all, I haven't given up total hope because they're right there. But there's a bunch of teams now in between. And, the guy that I really like was the late great football coach Dennis Green, coached the Cardinals and the Vikings. Everybody remembers his famous rant. We had him, and we let him off the hook. And that's exactly what the Marlins did this year.
Yes. Yeah.
I think, guys, one of those expanded the playoffs. There were 3 spots available. The Reds, the Diamondbacks, the Cup. These teams aren't much better than the Marlins.
No.
I think they had him, and I think they kind of let him off the hook a little bit. Now, I'm not going to blame management. You went out and got Bell and Berger, and by the way, Bell has been unbelievable. Berger's getting some good hits. Maybe they should have juiced it up a little bit more on that roster, made a little bit more of a run. Now,
careful, don't say juiced in baseball.
That's a good point. Where's A-Rod? Now, their philosophy may have been, hey, look, the Dodgers, they're a better team. The Braves are a better team. So even if you get in, but for this franchise, they have to get in. But it looks like they're just going to come up short. But I give them credit for pushing this year. But again, it's all about the result. It kind of burns me a little bit because I don't think Cincinnati, Arizona, Chicago, the Giants, I don't think these teams are much better than the Marlins.
When you were 14 games above 500,
yeah, exactly.
You thought this was something sustainable. But I have a hot take on all this. The Marlins, let's say they're going to be 2 games out the rest of the way.
Okay.
I think 2 games out is such a good place.
See, your bar's too low, bro.
Such a good place
That's
to be.
a bad thing.
No, listen.
The bar's too low.
No. Here's why.
You can sneak in the last week.
Because now, like fans and even fringe fans, kind of have to tune into this. Like, can they do it? Can they?
I'd rather be 2 games up and have the fans tune in.
But I think in the end, because everyone goes, well, you know what? The Dolphins are going to be playing well, and Miami's playing well. They're all doing this. No one's paying attention to the Marlins. 2 games out in the last couple weeks of the season, you have to pay attention.
I agree. In the race is great. I'm with you on
this
that.
team, what would it mean for this team to sneak in and get in and be in the play and be able to say, hey, last year we're in the play. When we go to spring training, we're a playoff team.
Sure.
We were in the playoffs. Let's go from here.
And by the way, the first round being 3 games, Alcantara, Luzardo, and Perez.
You never know.
Sandy lost his 11th game this week and blew up in the clubhouse. I want that anger on the mound. Game 1 of the series.
Marlins, Heat. They had an up and down season. Made it in the back door.
Panthers made it in with 48 hours left in the season.
Made it in the back door. And look where they did. So hey, who knows? Maybe
South Florida MO.
Maybe that's South Florida's MO.
He's got it.
To getting into the postseason.
Bo knows
Sneak in the back door.
Bo knows.
Bo knows. The Dolphins did it too. They lost 5 in a row.
Good point. Beat the Jets 11. Beat the Jets 11-6.
It's like the first time I got into Joe Stonecraft. I had to walk in through the kitchen door.
You're still going in.
They thought you were working there.
You're still going in the back door of fancy restaurants. Let's not kid anybody.
The nice table in the
sneaking
corner.
in around the back. Just go that way.
All right, we'll see if the Marlins can trend in the right direction. We're going to do a little trending roulette when we come back here on Game Changers.
Roulette.
No. Let's wrap things up here on Game Changers. Let's talk about what's trending, guys. I want to broaden our scope past the South Florida sports market. Ooh. I just saw reports that Steven Strasburg is going to get set to retire, and obviously we know he was a flamethrower out there on the mound, but the arm just kind of fell apart. And I'm bringing that up because Shohei Ohtani is now going to need Tommy John surgery. So here's a guy who was supposed to be a free agent this year, could have commanded probably a $500 million contract. If you're the GM for that team, what a nightmare that has become because you should have traded him. But if you're a team out there, possibly in the market for Ohtani, do you still pay him the big bucks, even though he might not be what he was going to be on the mound and now in the
I think he did that in the first game of a doubleheader, right?
Yeah, and he still came back and
then
played.
He played in the second game and he got a double.
Yeah.
So he can still hit the ball.
Sure.
So you've still got something there, but he's damaged goods now. And so where do you go with that? But look, if it's me, I would still jump on that guy. Yeah. I mean, he's first of all, you're going to sell tickets everywhere you go.
Yes.
He's changed the game of baseball. You're going to start seeing pitchers now who I always believe pitchers when they were younger, when they're in little league and high school,
we all hit.
Best players on the team, best hitter on the team. But once you get to that one level, no, you can't hit anymore. And I never understood why they didn't allow the best hitter and best pitcher to do both things. Until Ohtani came, we didn't see it. I think we'll see more of him, but I just think he's such a special player. Give him another couple of years. Look, he could hit for 2 years, not pitch, and come back with that thing completely healed, and then give you that aspect.
He was
of the
a top of the rotation guy. Maybe he comes back and it could still be your third or fourth best pitcher. But to you, Goldie, is that still worth a contract of that magnitude?
Well, first of all, he missed a whole year in 2019 after surgery. So you're talking about a guy now that may end up missing, we don't know, may end up missing 2 years out of 5 years. It would have to be the handful of teams, the Yankees, the Dodgers, that if it doesn't work out, they can eat it, whatever the insurance is, and they don't care. If I'm a team, it's tough to count on the guy. And to your point, Bo, if he's playing, he'll sell tickets. But if he's not playing, then, the other thing is then you're counting on him as well. It's a tough thing to do. You feel terrible. This happens a lot with these pitchers. And by the way, with Strasburg retiring, it goes to the Marlins. Stop babying Sandy. Stop taking him out of games. Stop sending Perez to the minors. They babied Steven Strasburg as much as they could with that arm. And what did it do? It did absolutely nothing.
They didn't let him
if you're going to get hurt, you're going to get hurt.
Well, there's a big argument out there, and baseball battles against it. No. Don't pitch him. Don't let him throw more.
Come on.
Less. They're talking about now going 2 innings. Almost going backwards. Somebody get in for the first 2 innings, and let's get someone else in.
No one has a bigger issue of old school bumping up against new school than the sport of baseball.
Yes. Yeah.
Because all the analytics, there was a lot of good stuff in analytics when it comes to WAR and all that stuff. But the old school approach, you see guys who used to pitch complete games night in and night out, pitch for 15 years.
Well, look,
and now all of a sudden guys are blowing out their arms.
Guys used to, back in the day, those guys, if they didn't pitch 9 innings, they were embarrassed.
Nolan Ryan?
They were upset. You can look at Bob Gibson and some of those old guys. If you look at their stat sheet, 12 innings pitched, 9 innings pitched, 8 inning pitch, 6 innings, another. One time it was Juan Marichal and Bob Gibson went 16 innings and both of them threw a complete game.
I'm not saying there's not, there's not reason. Hey, time goes on, you adjust some things. But like taking guys out at 100 pitches in a pennant race, the guys at 115, 120, and I'm no doctor, and they are, sure. But I think they're pushing this thing a little bit too much, and I just look at it, I really don't see the direct correlation between and Strasburg's, maybe the outlier, but he is an example, as you said, Mike. They held him out of a playoff game. We're getting word now, a few years later, he's retiring.
Right. And Sandy's the one, because he is such a big,
well, that one game earlier this year when Robertson came in, there was no reason. And the game last year when Mattingly took him out in Philly, come on.
It keeps happening. At some point, he needs to be in charge of what he does.
Well, remember the one game with the glove, and he was last year, and he was like basically screaming, I'm not coming out.
What was he saying?
I'm not coming out. Get back. Hey, Skip, get back to the dugout. Hey, Don, go back.
Transcript of that? No.
Well, I can't say what he was saying in Spanish because then
This is the internet. You can say anything you want.
I'm not comfortable doing it.
All right.
Here on CBS News Miami. I'm not comfortable.
Steve Goldstein,
trying to get me fired.
Mike Cunio. This is Game Changers. We will see you next week when we will try not to get fired again.
Inter Miami. Messi,
there he's. Where's it at? There it is, right there.
Can't lose.
Can't lose.
Fort never lose. Drive Pink Stadium.
Lamar Odom trophy. What's that going to look like? Is it going to be bald? Is there going to be a bald head on top of that?